The bridge of the UES Defiant fell silent as Captain Eleanor Chen watched Earth's final outer defense platform erupt into a blinding orange fireball. The massive viewscreen automatically dimmed to protect their eyes, but nothing could shield their hearts from what they were witnessing. "Station Artemis is gone, Captain," Lieutenant Rice reported, her voice hollow. 5,000 personnel. Lost. Chen's fingers dug into the armrests of her command chair. 12 hours earlier, the hegemony had launched what military analysts were already calling the New Jakarta Offensive, a coordinated assault on Earth's remaining orbital defenses. It wasn't supposed to happen for another week. They hadn't been ready. "Tactical assessment," Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around her. Commander Victor Lasky, her executive officer and oldest friend, studied the holographic battle map. His weathered face, usually composed, betrayed genuine fear. Hegemony forces have broken through sectors 3 through 7. Their capital ships are positioning for the next phase. At current rate of advance, Earth's defensive grid will collapse within 6 hours. A nearby console exploded in a shower of sparks as the Defiant absorbed another glancing hit. Medical teams rushed to treat the injured crewmen as damage control teams fought to contain the electrical fire. "Captain," Lasky said quietly, moving closer so only she could hear, "we should consider implementing Protocol Omega." Protocol Omega. The last resort. A fighting retreat of all surviving vessels to the Jupiter defense perimeter. Abandoning Earth to buy time for evacuation ships to escape with as many civilians as possible. 8 billion people would be left behind. Chen met his gaze. Not yet. She rose from her chair and moved to the tactical display. The Defiant was humanity's newest battleship, equipped with experimental technology that made it unique in the fleet. It was also now one of only 3 capital ships still operational in Earth's inner defense sphere. "Lieutenant Zhang, what's the status of the Hegemony Central Command vessel?" Zhang, a brilliant tactical officer who'd only joined her crew 3 weeks ago, examined his console. "The Dominion has positioned itself behind the main battle group. They're coordinating the assault but staying clear of direct engagement." Chen's eyes narrowed. The Dominion was the personal flagship of Supreme Overlord Ketval, the architect of humanity's systematic destruction. If they could somehow eliminate it. "Captain," Communications Officer Diaz interrupted, "we're receiving a priority transmission from Fleet Admiral Watts." The Admiral's face appeared on screen, his command center visibly damaged, staff rushing behind him. "Captain Chen, I'm implementing a tactical realignment. I need the Defiant to take 3rd and 5th Squadrons and execute a flanking maneuver through Sector 4. Chen studied the tactical display. "Sir, with respect, that position is directly in the path of their heaviest cruisers. Our squadrons would be overwhelmed." "It's a necessary diversion, Captain. We need to buy time for the civilian transports to evacuate the Jakarta and Singapore arcologies." Chen's mind raced through calculations. "Admiral, request permission to modify the approach. If we use the moon's gravity well for slingshot acceleration, we can create the same divergent effect with half the casualties." The transmission flickered as another impact rocked the Admiral's headquarters. "Make it happen, Chen. Whatever you decide, just get those civilians out." As the transmission ended, Lasky leaned in. "Eleanor, that's still a suicide mission. Even with your modifications, we'll lose at least 40% of our forces." "Better than 80%, she replied, already inputting commands into the tactical system. "Alert 3rd and 5th Squadrons. We move in 3 minutes." "Incoming," Zhang shouted as the proximity alarms blared. "Evasive pattern Delta," Chen ordered. The massive battleship lurched as its thrusters fired, narrowly avoiding a Hegemony plasma torpedo. The view outside showed Earth's orbital space transformed into a graveyard of human and alien vessels alike. The next 90 minutes passed in a blur of tactical orders, desperate maneuvers, and mounting casualties. Chen's modified strategy worked. The civilian transports escaped, and the Defiant led its surviving escorts back toward Earth's defensive perimeter, engines straining and hull breaches on multiple decks. But victory had come at a terrible price. "Medical team to the bridge," Chen called, kneeling beside Commander Lasky. A support beam had collapsed during their final evasive turn, crushing his chest. Blood bubbled from his lips as he gripped her hand. "Did we get them out?" he gasped. Chen nodded, fighting to keep her voice steady. "We did, Victor. All 19 transports cleared the gravity well." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Always said, you were too clever for those alien bastards." "Save your strength," she ordered, but they both knew it was too late. "Promise me," he whispered, his grip weakening. "Promise you won't let Earth fall." Before she could answer, his eyes glazed over. The medical team arrived seconds too late. 3%, muttered Lieutenant John Way, staring at the mission projection hologram floating above the Defiance conference table. "That's not a mission success probability. That's a rounding error." Captain Chen watched her new XO closely. After Lasky's funeral, a brief affair with his body committed to space along with 37 other crew members, she'd promoted Zhang, despite his reputation for questioning authority. Right now, she needed someone who would challenge her thinking, not merely follow orders. "Your assessment, Lieutenant?" she asked, as the other department heads waited silently. Zhang straightened. "The phase shift drive is fundamentally untested in combat conditions, Captain. During development, it killed 3 test pilots when the dimensional membrane collapsed mid-shift, and now we're planning to use it to penetrate the most heavily defended location in hegemony space." The room tensed at his bluntness. Chen merely nodded. "What would you suggest instead?" she asked. "There is no alternative," he replied after a moment. "But there is a flaw in the mission plan." He stepped forward, manipulating the holographic display with quick hand movements. "The current approach vector assumes a standard hegemony patrol pattern, but I've analyzed their movements during the last 3 major engagements. They've implemented a new randomized sentry deployment that will detect us here, here, and here." 3 points on the projection flashed red. Chief Engineer Nakamura, who had been silent until now, leaned forward. "If we recalibrate the phase harmonics to a narrower bandwidth, we could potentially slip through those detection points, but it would increase strain on the drive by approximately 23%, increasing our chances of catastrophic drive failure," Zhang concluded, "or increasing our chances of mission success from 3% to perhaps 5%. Chen countered. "Make the adjustments, Commander Nakamura." As officers filed out to prepare their departments, Chen activated a small screen on the conference table. The latest intelligence from Earth appeared. The hegemony ultimatum demanding unconditional surrender within 72 hours, footage of their ships positioning above major population centers, and most critically, confirmation that the Dominion had moved to the edge of the Sol system. Lieutenant Commander Alvarez, the weapons officer, lingered behind. "Permission to speak freely, Captain." Chen nodded. "The crew is recording final messages to their families," Alvarez said, her dark eyes intense. "Morale is fragile. They need to know this isn't just about dying gloriously. It's not about dying at all, Commander. It's about giving Earth a fighting chance." Chen pulled up another file on the screen, a classified briefing showing the Hegemony High Council scheduled to meet aboard the Dominion. "If we can eliminate their leadership in one strike, we'd throw their command structure into chaos." Alvarez finished, newfound understanding dawning on her face. "Precisely. Now help Lieutenant Zhang prepare the tactical systems." After Alvarez departed, Chen remained alone in the conference room. She opened a secure drawer beneath the table and removed a small holographic projector. It flickered to life, displaying an image of her and Lasky at the Academy graduation 20 years earlier, both laughing, full of hope for humanity's future among the stars. "I'm keeping my promise, Victor," she whispered. The ship's intercom interrupted her moment of reflection. "Captain to the bridge. Priority transmission from Earth Command." When Chen arrived on the bridge, Admiral Watt's grim face filled the main view screen. Behind him, Officers worked frantically amid smoke and flickering lights. "We've lost the lunar colonies, Eleanor," he said without preamble. "The hegemony destroyed Armstrong City 30 minutes ago. Over 12,000 civilians. They're calling it a demonstration of resolve." Chen felt the bridge crew's eyes on her as the Admiral continued. "The phase shift mission is now official. The Security Council has authorized Protocol Terminus. Protocol Terminus. Direct assassination of enemy leadership. A desperate measure reserved for existential threats." "Understood, Admiral," Chen replied. "We depart in 6 hours. Godspeed, Eleanor. Earth out." As the transmission ended, Lieutenant Zhang approached her, datapad in hand. "Captain, I've completed the revised mission approach. But there's something else you should know." He lowered his voice. "I served in intelligence before my transfer to tactical. I have specialized skills that might be relevant when we reach the Dominion." Chen studied him with new eyes. "Report to my ready room in 1 hour, Lieutenant. It seems we have more to discuss." Through the viewports, they could see the devastation of Earth's orbital defenses, and beyond them, the blue-green planet they were sworn to protect, perhaps for the last time. "They're dying for nothing," Commander Alvarez whispered, her eyes fixed on the main view screen as the remnants of Earth's defense fleet engaged the hegemony scout forces. The Defiant hung in the shadow of a debris field that had once been an orbital shipyard, engines cold, running on minimal power to avoid detection. From this vantage point, they had a perfect view of the slaughter. Human vessels, outnumbered and outgunned, fought with desperate valor to buy the Defiant time to slip away unnoticed. Captain Chen's face remained impassive, but her knuckles whitened as she gripped the command chair. "They're dying so we can complete our mission, Commander. Don't let their sacrifice be in vain." The bridge crew worked in tense silence, each acutely aware that every explosion on screen represented friends and colleagues they would never see again. When the last human cruiser detonated in a brilliant flash, Chen nodded to her helmsman. "Initiate silent running protocols. Take us out, Lieutenant. Maximum stealth." The Defiant glided from its hiding place, accelerating slowly to avoid energy signatures that might give them away. Once clear of Earth's defensive perimeter, they would activate the phase shift drive and embark on their one-way journey into the heart of enemy territory. "Hegemony forces are regrouping," reported Zhang from Tactical. "No sign they've detected us." Chen allowed herself a small breath of relief, but it was short-lived. "Captain," Alvarez's voice was sharp with tension. "Maybe we should reconsider the mission parameters. Earth still has ground defenses. If we return to provide orbital support..." "Our orders are clear, Commander. Our orders are suicide," Alvarez countered, stepping closer to Chen's chair. "The phase shift drive is untested. The target is unreachable. And even if by some miracle we succeed, what then? We'll be stranded in enemy territory without..." "That's enough, Commander." Chen's voice cut through the bridge like a blade. "The hegemony will be on Earth in less than 3 days," she continued, her tone softening, but no less firm. "Their ground assault will overwhelm any resistance within hours. Our only hope, Earth's only hope, is to strike at their command structure while they're vulnerable." Alvarez's jaw tightened. "With respect, Captain, I believe this mission is a glory run that condemns Earth tow." The tactical alert interrupted her. "Contact," Zhang called out. "Unidentified vessel bearing 047 Mark 22. It's not matching any known configuration, Captain." Chen moved to the tactical station. The vessel was small, perhaps 1/3 the size of the Defiant, its hull pitted and scored from weapons fire. Most peculiarly, it appeared to be drifting without power. "Life signs?" Chen asked. "Unclear," replied Zhang. "Their hull composition is interfering with our scans, but they're directly in our path." "It could be a trap," Alvarez warned. "A lure to expose our position." Chen studied the readings. Something wasn't right. Adjust course to intercept, but maintain alert status. Prepare a boarding team. "Captain," Alvarez objected. Protocol dictates we avoid all contact that might compromise. I'm aware of protocol, Commander, Chen replied coolly. But my instincts tell me this is important. You'll lead the boarding party. 30 minutes later, Alvarez's voice crackled through the comm. Captain, you need to see this. We've found survivors, but they're not hegemony. They appear to be engineers of some kind, held in containment cells, and they're definitely not human. The creatures Alvarez had discovered were insectoid, with iridescent exoskeletons and compound eyes that reflected light in hypnotic patterns. Their limbs were thin but surprisingly strong, ending in delicate manipulators perfect for intricate technical work. Most remarkably, the universal translator rendered their chittering speech in perfect standard English. These were no primitives. We are Vespid, their apparent leader explained once brought aboard the Defiant. Technical specialists. Slaves. Our ship was damaged while servicing a hegemony destroyer. They abandoned us to die. And you know how to contact others like you. Chen asked, her mind racing with possibilities. The Vespid's antennae quivered. We know much more than that, Captain. We know about your mission, and we know why it will fail, unless you accept our help. Phase shift initiation in 3, 2, 1. The bridge of the Defiant shuddered as reality itself seemed to bend around them. The stars outside the viewports stretched into luminous streaks, then vanished entirely, replaced by a swirling maelstrom of indigo and violet energies that the human mind was never meant to comprehend. Phase transition stable, Lieutenant Zhang reported, his voice tight with concentration. Dimensional membrane holding at 87% integrity. Captain Chen exhaled slowly. They had made 2 previous jumps without incident, each bringing them deeper into hegemony territory. The modified drive, enhanced by Vespid technical expertise, was performing beyond expectations. Perhaps, she thought, the mission's odds had improved from impossible to merely improbable. Time to next waypoint, she asked. Zhang consulted his display. 4 minutes, 17 seconds until we. A violent tremor ripped through the ship, throwing crew members from their stations. Warning klaxons blared as red emergency lighting bathed the bridge in a hellish glow. Report, Chen demanded, pulling herself back into her command chair. Dimensional membrane collapsing. Zhang shouted over the cacophony of alarms. Drive core experiencing cascading feedback loop. On the engineering deck, Lieutenant Commander Nakamura fought his way through smoke and debris toward the phase shift core. The rhythmic pulsing of the drive's heart had become an erratic stutter of blue-white energy that threatened to tear the ship apart. Containment protocols failing, reported his assistant, a young ensign whose name Nakamura couldn't recall. The engineer hadn't spoken a personal word to anyone since watching his family die when Mars fell 2 years ago. Vent plasma conduits 3 through 7, Nakamura ordered. Redirect power through the auxiliary buffers. A thunderous explosion rocked the deck. A support beam crashed down, crushing the ensign instantly. Nakamura barely registered the death, one more to add to the thousands haunting his dreams. A chittering sound drew his attention. One of the Vespid engineers, Tiktavi, he recalled, had survived the blast and was gesturing frantically at the drive's control matrix. Quantum stabilizers. Failing, the translator rendered the Vespid speech. But look, frequency pattern. Unprecedented. Nakamura studied the readings through the smoke. The failing drive wasn't just malfunctioning, it was transforming. The phase variance was shifting into a completely novel configuration, one that theoretical physics had only speculated might exist. On the bridge, chaos reigned. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7, reported the damage control officer. We've lost 12 crew members, another 23 injured. We're dropping out of phase space, Zhang announced, his face pale with shock. Emergence coordinates unknown. The view screen flickered back to normal space, but what they saw sent a chill through the bridge crew. They were surrounded by a hegemony battle group, 3 heavy cruisers and their escort vessels, all with weapons primed. How did they know? Commander Alvarez whispered. How could they possibly have anticipated our emergence point? They didn't, Chen realized, studying the tactical display. We've dropped right into their patrol route. Pure, terrible luck. Hegemony vessels locking weapons, Zhang reported. Enemy boarding torpedoes launching. Evasive maneuvers, Chen ordered. Commander, arm all defensive systems. But the Defiant's engines were unresponsive, its weapon systems offline as power fluctuated wildly throughout the ship. Within minutes, they would be boarded, captured, and their mission would end in failure. Then Nakamura's voice came through the comm, ragged but urgent. Captain, the drive didn't malfunction, it evolved. The dimensional shift created a new configuration we never imagined possible. If my calculations are correct, we could use it to jump directly through the Sanctum Prime defensive grid. Chen's eyes widened. Sanctum Prime, the hegemony capital world, was protected by the most sophisticated defense system in known space. No vessel had ever penetrated its planetary shield. Time to implement, she asked as the first hegemony tractor beams locked onto their hull. 90 seconds, Nakamura replied. But Captain, the stresses on the ship will be extreme. We'll lose more people. The tactical officer announced grimly. Boarding torpedoes will impact in 2 minutes. The bridge crew turned to Chen, awaiting her decision. Zhang's expression conveyed what everyone was thinking. Certain death by capture versus probable death by experimental jump. Chen stood, her voice resolute. Do it, Nakamura. Sometimes, she told her terrified bridge crew as the drive began to power up with an ominous whine. The only safe place is directly inside the hurricane's eye. She's seizing again. Medical Officer Patel shouted as Commander Alvarez's body convulsed violently on the surgical table. The Defiant's medical bay, designed to handle 30 casualties, now overflowed with over 70 injured crew members. The aftermath of the desperate dimensional jump had been devastating. Those who survived were afflicted with what Dr. Patel had grimly termed reality rejection syndrome. Cellular damage caused by partial quantum desynchronization. Another dose of stabilizers. Patel ordered a medic, and increased the chronometric field strength. Outside in the corridor, Captain Chen watched through the observation window, her own body still racked with intermittent tremors. Of the 300 crew who began the mission, 76 were now dead, and another 94 were incapacitated. The medical staff worked beyond exhaustion trying to save them. She might not make it, Zhang said quietly, appearing at Chen's side. Her XO looked haggard, his left arm immobilized in a medical brace. Of all people, I never expected Alvarez would be the one to. He didn't finish. There was no need. During the chaos of the jump, Commander Alvarez had manually stabilized a failing containment field, absorbing a lethal dose of dimensional radiation in the process. The same woman who questioned our mission saved it, Chen observed. And us with it. Was it worth it? Zhang gestured toward a viewport. Outside hung the magnificent blue-green orb of Sanctum Prime, jewel of the hegemony, seat of their government and nerve center of their empire. And surrounding it, a shimmering energy barrier comprised of overlapping hexagonal fields, the supposedly impenetrable defensive grid that no enemy vessel had ever breached. Until now. The Defiant floated within the massive asteroid belt that orbited between the planet and its defensive shell, running dark to avoid detection. Nakamura's desperate gambit had somehow worked, bypassing the shield entirely by shifting the ship partially out of conventional spacetime during transit. Status of ship systems, Chen asked, forcing herself back to the immediate concerns. Life support stable, weapons at 40%, engines at 28%. The cloak is functioning but experiencing random failures every few hours, Zhang reported. Nakamura says we can manage one more phase shift at most, and even that might tear the ship apart. Chen nodded grimly. Then we have one shot. Prepare the infiltration team. 4 hours later, Chen studied the 6 volunteers assembled in the shuttle bay. Zhang, whose intelligence background made him invaluable. Tkevik, the Vespid engineer whose knowledge of hegemony systems was unparalleled. Lieutenant Santos from security, Ensign Bakari from communications, and 2 others chosen for specialized skills. The mission parameters have changed, Chen informed them. We no longer seek merely to eliminate the hegemony leadership. We need intelligence, specifically their strategic plans regarding Earth. Our priority is to infiltrate their central command complex and extract data on the invasion timeline. With respect, Captain, Santos interjected, getting into the most secured facility on the most secured planet in hegemony space seems optimistic, which is why you'll be going in disguised as maintenance workers, Chen replied, gesturing to Tkevik, who chittered excitedly. The Vespid had produced remarkably authentic service uniforms and identification chips, maintenance systems, standardized throughout hegemony. Security overlooks, the invisible ones, who keep systems functioning. Chen activated a holographic display showing Sanctum Prime's capital city, a sprawling metropolis of towering spires and gleaming plazas. The central command complex is here, at the heart of the government district. You'll land at a maintenance hub 30 kilometers outside the city and use public transport to reach your insertion point. And extraction? Zhang asked the question everyone was thinking. Chen met his gaze steadily. The Defiant will move to this position in 26 hours. She indicated a point just outside the atmosphere. It's the only window where sensor gaps in their orbital grid coincide with our operational needs. If you're not at the rendezvous coordinates by then. The unspoken message was clear. There would be no second chances. As the team made final preparations, Chen drew Zhang aside. There's another element to this mission that the others don't need to know about. She handed him a small device no larger than a thumbnail. If you confirm that the invasion of Earth has already launched, transmit this signal. Nakamura will understand what to do. Zhang studied her face. A final strike protocol. Chen's expression revealed nothing. Just insurance. Now go bring me something that gives Earth a fighting chance. The shuttle departed 30 minutes later. Precisely, Okafor confirmed. Before anyone could process this revelation, the comm system crackled to life. Captain, came Ensign Diaz's urgent voice. Lieutenant Zhang is making contact. Emergency protocol. He's requesting immediate extraction and says they've discovered something critical about the hegemony's plans. As Chen rushed to the bridge, Engineer Nakamura intercepted her in the corridor, his expression uncharacteristically animated. Captain, the Vespid engineer and I have been analyzing the phase shift core's new configuration. You need to see this immediately. We can't save Earth if we're dead, Lieutenant Reed argued, his voice rising. We should use our final phase shift to escape Sanctum Prime, regroup with whatever human forces remain, and fight another day. Fight with what? Lieutenant Zhang countered, still wearing the tattered hegemony maintenance uniform from his infiltration mission. His team had returned with crucial intelligence, but at terrible cost. 2 of the 6 hadn't made it back. Their armada is overwhelming Earth as we speak. By the time we return, there will be nothing left to save. The Defiant's conference room had become a battleground of its own. The senior officers were divided, their arguments growing more heated with each passing minute. Captain Chen stood silently at the viewport, watching the distant shimmer of Sanctum Prime's defensive grid while the debate raged behind her. The phase shift drive can only manage one more jump, Nakamura reminded them, his voice ragged from exhaustion. We must choose our final destination wisely. Then we choose the original mission, argued the tactical officer. We penetrate the High Council chamber and take out as many of their leaders as possible. We make them pay for Earth. And accomplish what exactly? Dr. Okafor challenged. Revenge. Meanwhile, the Veil approaches, and the hegemony's misguided defenses will amplify its effects. We're talking about galactic extinction, not just human extinction. So we abandon Earth to save aliens who are currently bombing our home world. Reed's face flushed with anger. That's treason. It's perspective, John replied quietly. What the infiltration team discovered, it changes everything. He activated a holographic display showing data stolen from the Hegemony Central Command. The Veil will reach this sector in approximately 10 months. The Hegemony isn't conquering Earth out of malice. They're harvesting resources and conscripting soldiers for their defensive efforts. They genuinely believe they're saving the galaxy, including humanity, just as a subjugated species. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. So we have a choice, Chen said finally, turning from the viewport to face her crew. Strike at the Hegemony leadership, potentially giving Earth a brief reprieve, but leaving the galaxy unprepared for the Veil. Or attempt to convince our enemies that their defensive strategy is fatally flawed and offer our technology as an alternative solution. They'll never listen, Reed objected. We'd be surrendering for nothing. Perhaps, Chen acknowledged. But if Dr. Okafor's analysis is correct, and the Hegemony continues on their current path, there won't be a galaxy left to fight over. The tactical alert interrupted their debate. Captain, came the urgent voice over the comm. We've detected Hegemony patrol vessels moving through the asteroid field. They're using new sensor configurations. They'll locate us within 20 minutes. Chen studied the faces of her officers, each bearing the weight of humanity's future in their expressions. We're out of time for debate, she said. As captain, the decision falls to me. She turned to Nakamura. Prepare the phase shift drive for one final jump. Target coordinates. The High Council chamber at the heart of the Sanctum Prime capital. Reed's face lit with grim satisfaction, but Chen continued. Not for an attack. For negotiation. Protests erupted around the table. Chen raised her hand for silence. We could kill their leaders and give Earth a few more weeks, perhaps, or we could try to save both Earth and every other inhabited world from the Veil. The mathematics are clear. Even if our chances of successful negotiation are minimal, the potential reward far outweighs any other option. As her officers reluctantly dispersed to prepare for the final jump, the ship's doctor appeared at the conference room doorway. Captain, she said, Commander Alvarez is conscious. The nanite treatment has stabilized her condition. But she's changed. I think you should see for yourself. Chen found Alvarez sitting upright in the medical bay, her skin pale, but no longer showing the terrifying blue glow of earlier. The commander's eyes, however, were different, the pupils slightly elongated, with a faint luminescence that hadn't been there before. Captain, Alvarez said, her voice stronger than seemed possible given her condition hours earlier. The crew is divided. They don't understand your decision. And you? Chen asked. I was wrong before, Alvarez replied. The nanites. They've changed my perspective. I can sense things differently now. She gestured to the viewport showing distant Sanctum Prime. Our duty extends beyond Earth to all sentient life. The Hegemony must be made to understand their error. Before Chen could respond, the tactical alert blared again. Captain, to the bridge, came the urgent summons. Hegemony warships have detected us. We have less than 5 minutes before they're in weapons range. Chen met Alvarez's altered gaze. Are you with me, Commander? Until the end, Alvarez replied, rising unsteadily to her feet. Whatever that end may be. Chaos erupted in the High Council chamber of Sanctum Prime as the Defiant materialized in a blinding flash of energy. The massive battleship, scared and battle-damaged, hovered impossibly within the vaulted space, its hull nearly brushing the ornate ceiling. Alarm klaxons blared as panicked council members and their security forces scrambled for cover. Weapons locked on central power core. Ensign Reed reported from tactical, his finger hovering over the firing control. Like many of the crew, his eyes reflected both fear and a burning desire for vengeance against the beings responsible for Earth's suffering. Captain Chen stood resolutely on the bridge, watching the main view screen as Hegemony security forces surrounded the ship, their weapons trained on the Defiant's hull. Open external speakers, she ordered. Broadcast on all Hegemony frequencies. She stepped forward, her uniform torn and stained, her face bearing the marks of their harrowing journey, yet her voice rang with unwavering authority. High Council of the Hegemony. I am Captain Eleanor Chen of the United Earth ship Defiant. I come before you not as an attacker, but as a messenger. The fate of every sentient being in this galaxy now hinges on your willingness to listen. On the council floor below, Supreme Overlord Ketval emerged from behind a protective shield, his elongated crimson form towering over the other counselors. His translator rendered his sibilant speech into standard English. The humans send one ship as a suicide weapon, he hissed. Your desperation insults us. Your world falls as we speak. Surrender now, and perhaps your species will survive as servants. We did not come to surrender, Chen replied. Nor did we come for vengeance, though many of my crew would gladly sacrifice their lives to take yours. She gestured to Dr. Okafor, who transmitted their findings to the chamber's main display system. We came because your defense against the Veil will destroy the galaxy you're trying to save. A ripple of confusion spread through the council. The scientific overseer, a spindly being with multiple eyes set in a gelatinous head, moved forward. Impossible, the alien declared. Our shield technology has been in development for centuries. The calculations are flawless. Flawless but incomplete, countered Dr. Okafor, stepping beside Chen. Your models fail to account for dimensional resonance patterns when the Veil interacts with your shield harmonics. She manipulated the display, showing simulations of cascading energy reactions spreading across the galaxy. Your shields won't repel the Veil. They'll amplify it, creating a chain reaction that will sterilize half the galaxy. The council erupted in shouts and accusations, some demanding the humans' immediate execution, others calling for verification of their claims. Supreme Overlord Ketval raised a limb for silence. Even if this were true, which we do not concede, what alternative could primitives like you possibly offer? At that moment, Commander Alvarez stepped onto the bridge, her transformed body radiating a subtle energy that even the aliens could perceive. The nanite integration had continued, turning her into something neither fully human nor machine, a living bridge between different states of existence. Show them, she said to Chen, her voice carrying harmonics that hadn't been there before. Chen nodded to Nakamura, who transmitted the specifications for their phase shift technology to the Council's systems. While you built shields to repel the Veil, we developed technology to shift partially out of its path, Chen explained. Our approach doesn't try to block a force that cannot be blocked. It allows planets to temporarily phase to a dimensional state where the Veil cannot touch them. The scientific overseer studied the data with growing agitation, multiple appendages manipulating controls as it ran simulations. This is theoretically sound, the alien finally admitted, its voice containing both shock and reluctance. But implementing this across thousands of worlds in mere months would be impossible. Not impossible, Chen countered. Difficult, but achievable if we work together rather than continuing this war. The choice is yours. Continue your conquest and doom the galaxy, or join with us as equals in the face of a common threat. A tense silence fell over the chamber as Supreme Overlord Ketval considered her words. The Defiant's crew waited, weapons still locked on the council chamber's core, ready to ensure that if diplomacy failed, they would at least take hegemony leadership with them. Verify their claims, Ketval finally ordered the scientific overseer. If what they say is true, then all our calculations, all our preparations. He didn't finish the thought.